The For Dummies videos seem to go over pretty well. Well, I mean, I'm a dummy too, so I enjoy that kind of stuff. But today is assessing your targets for dummies. Uh, I mean, let's be real. It's when you're shooting in the moment, it's tough to always feel or see what's going on to assess the target, especially as you kind of start getting into shooting and trying to be accurate and fast. So sometimes you need to look at your targets to tell what's going on or to help you assess kind of cause and effect with what you feel with what happened on the target. So when you're looking at the target, I think the best place to start is just to divide the target into fourths. Just so happens I have some dry fire targets here. But basically just, if you just draw an imaginary line from top to bottom, from left to right, from the dead center that you were trying to shoot at, that's a good place to start. And just look at it as where are the bullets going? Because, for example, someone might say, hey, I'm shooting kind of, it's a fist-sized group. But if the fist-sized group is low and to the left of your intended aiming point, yes, it's a fist-sized group, but it's not really centered up in the middle. So the first place to start is trends, or where are the bulk of the bullets going. If you're doing a marksmanship fundamental drill where it's rapid fire on one target, that makes it pretty easy. It's like, hey, when I shoot rapid fire, I'm pushing them all one way. I see the same result, for, let's say you shoot 30 rounds on the drill before you patch it. So you've got kind of a variety, and you can kind of see a pattern for where they're going. Is it perfectly concentric in the middle? Are the hits dragging more one way or the other? Does the group look tear-shaped or egg-shaped? And how much of the target are you using? So for that first example, let's say you divide the target into fourths. There's not a single bullet high. Everything has gone low, or if you're right-handed shooter, low left. The easiest place to start is going to be your firing hand. It'll be some amount of you pushing into the gun. A couple different thought processes. For some people, when they know the gun's going to get ready to kick, they know it's going to push in their hand, they want to push back to stop the gun from doing that, kind of in anticipation, knowing that force is going to be coming, so pushing into it to counteract that or to stop it or to reduce it. That's kind of flawed thinking. The gun doesn't really kick that much anyway, but any amount of you trying to fight it normally is going to result in the gun going off the target where you want bullets to go. So for a right-handed shooter, that's going to be the low left hits. Again, another thing that could happen is like when they press their trigger finger, you get sympathetic movement from the rest of their hands clamping down or moving also. Commonly see when someone presses the trigger, like you see another part of their hand flexing or clamping or moving. Sometimes like if you see somebody really doing fast shooting, you'll see their hand does like where their thumbs flicking around with their hand. So that could be you moving your hand or not just pressing the trigger with only your trigger finger, but the rest of your hand also. That could also attribute to those, again, low left kind of hits for the right-handed shooter. The other kind of main thing that happens is shots will be going high. For a right-handed shooter, typically high right. What that is, I don't like, it's flawed thinking to think that you're going to time it. Or it's like, oh, I shot it too early. I didn't wait for the sight to come back down. Instead, the way I diagnose that is you're not staying target focused. You're looking at the sight. So if you stay focused on the sight and you watch the hits, like you'll just see brown behind the target and keep shooting, but not realize that you're not tracking the sight back down to the center of the target. Instead, you just see you're staring at your either front sight or your dot. You see brown of the target behind it and you keep shooting. So in the moment, probably won't register that they're not going where you want them to. But then looking afterwards, if you see shots high, it wasn't that you needed to slow down or to wait for the sight to come back down. 9 times out of 10, it's just going to be you were staring at the sight, not staring at the point you wanted to hit. Those are kind of the two main things. And then within that, it's common to see, we call kind of a seatbelt pattern, where it'll be diagonal on the target, which will just be a variation of those two. Sometimes people will start to push on the gun, like, oh, don't do that, and they try to relax, and instead they focus on the sight or switching back and forth between the two. And so that's why you see kind of that seatbelt pattern or a slash across the target, just because it's both those issues happening at the same time. So when you divide the target up, like I originally said, into fourths, they might not all just be going one way. If your target has bullets kind of all over the place with no real rhyme reason, maybe low in the head, deltas, all the different ways, that could also just be from not picking a refined enough aiming scheme, especially at distance. People commonly just look at the target, so the shape or the color or the outline, or feel their pistol outline within the target and start shooting. A lot of stuff's vision related, but it would be from not finding the very middle of the target where you want to drive the bullets to. Instead, like I said, just looking at the outline of the target or centering up, seeing the outline of your gun inside the outline of the target, and then deciding it's good to fire. So the fix for that would be refined aiming scheme. There's kind of two different types of sight confirmation I'd suggest for most people. One is just reacting to the color of your sight. So if you're looking at the point you want to hit, as soon as you see the color red touch your eyeline, even though it's a streak coming in, once red touches where you're looking, then you fire. The other one for smaller targets, more distant target, a shot you perceive to be high difficulty, the play might be letting your sight stop and stabilize so it looks like a dot before you fire. So what that would look, again, if I'm focused here, the sight comes in, it stops, and once it stops and it's round and it looks like a dot, then I start the trigger press. But that's going to be kind of the main reason for that, really a shotgun style pattern on the target. If people are doing, or somebody doing like the doubles drill where it's rapid fire pairs, it could be common not to return the gun back to the center after each pair. That could also be another reason for hits kind of trending all over. It's not centering the gun or centering the sights back up to the target before you shoot. The last piece I'll talk about is related to target transitions. If you're shooting here, your next target's going to be off this way. If you see hits trending in the direction you're getting ready to transition the gun to, so as you pull off the target, that comes from pulling your eyes off the target before you're done shooting it. It sounds like no duh, common sense, but you have to keep looking where you want bullets to go as long as you want to keep shooting the target. So if your eyes come off the target after you press the shot on the first trigger and you're waiting for the sight to come back down, or you haven't quite fired the second shot, but you start thinking about the next thing, the sight's just going to travel in the way you're looking. So it's super important to stay looking at the target as long as you're shooting it. If, again, you're shooting this target, transitioning onto it, so the sight's coming in from the side, and you see hits trending into the target, that will commonly be from staring at your sight and just registering brown behind it and deciding it's time to fire. Or maybe you just, like, it feels like the gun's getting close, and you just decide to start sending it, where you should be laser focused to the middle and waiting for the sight to get where you want, as opposed to trying to time it or kind of by feel or index or muscle memory, however verbiage you want to use, but just by feel, thinking like the gun's getting close and just start shooting before the sight actually gets to the middle. So those examples, call it drag on and drag off. Drag off is looking away from the target while I'm still shooting it and the hit's trailing off. Drag on is I'm not waiting for the sight to get to the middle of the target before I start shooting it. So anyway, that's just a few kind of the most common ways to assess or read your targets. You could end up with a wide variety of every once in a while. If you're shooting like the doubles drills, an easy one to talk about, so rapid fire pairs, every once in a while, you could end up with just a random one bullet out in the middle of nowhere for no reason. Maybe it's way high, way left, way right. Initially, when you start training, it'll be kind of question marks. I'm not really sure how that happened. Hopefully, as you train more, you kind of gain cause and effect. So you feel your hands do something, or you saw your sight do something kind of weird, not really sure, but it just felt different. Or maybe you have a specific sensation. Then when you look at the target, like, yep, that caused the bullet to go a place I didn't want it to. You can kind of create cause and effect, such as I felt my hand tighten, the shots went low and left. I felt myself start to stare at my sight for just this one pair, this one target. That's why the bullets went to a different spot. So you're kind of just looking to gain awareness as you experience more and try to, again, create cause and effect. Those things, it comes easier with time and experience than just shooting. So anyway, that's a few easy ways to read your targets. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions or want more videos like this, just drop it below in the comments. I read through the comments, try to answer them all as best I can. If it's something easy to answer in the comments, sometimes it'll just be, my response will be like short version, this is what I would like, but I'll make a video to explain better. Because sometimes it's just too much stuff to type out. So like, share, subscribe, whatever that stuff if you want. If not, I don't care. It's fine either way. Either way, though, I do appreciate you watching.